Hi, scholars. We're going to be talking about something that happened during the American Revolution that was important but was not a battle. And that was the wintering of the American troops at Valley Forge. Now, back during the American Revolution, usually people did not fight battles. Usually in the winter, they would sort of hunker down. The capital in 1777 was here in Philadelphia. But right before the winter happened, General Howe and the British invaded and they took over the capital. Because of that, the leaders of the Americans had to move to York, about 50 miles away. Now, George Washington decided to bed his troops down here. He did that so he could keep an eye on the British in Philadelphia, protect the government in York if need be. Also, because Valley Forge was high on a plateau, so any invaders would have to charge up the hill, giving George Washington and his army an advantage. It was also surrounded on three sides by a stream, so enemies would have to cross the water if they wanted to invade. The problem is that when they arrived on December 18th, 1777, the army was in bad shape. They had to march many miles through the snow, through the storms. They were tired, exhausted, cold. And the first thing that they had to do was build shelter. This is a replica of the little huts they built. They had to build these by hand. There were no machines. And it looks really cute and warm, but it actually wasn't because they didn't even have a wooden doorway. They would hang cloth in front of the doorway. There was a fireplace, but there were 12 men crammed in there for the winter time. So it made for very bad living conditions. Another problem that they had was that they had very bad clothing. The government didn't have enough money to provide uniforms, so they had to wear their own clothing from home. And usually these would wear out. By the time they got to Valley Forge, their clothes were all ripped and torn from battles and fights, and their shoes had worn out. So they were wearing strips of cloth on their feet as they walked through the snow. The government also didn't provide very much food. They tried to scrounge together what food they could get, but they made something called fire cakes, which is just flour and water mixed together and then cooked over a flame, and it's not very appetizing or very nutritious. As far as the water goes, they had to drink out of the same water that they bathed in, that they washed their clothes in. So this caused a lot of problems with poor nutrition and bad water. Now, the reason that they couldn't get a lot of supplies is that their money was virtually worthless. The farmers didn't want their continental dollars. The farmers wanted to exchange things that were more valuable. Also, the muddy roads made it difficult to get supplies up the plateau. So even if they could get supplies, they couldn't get it easily to Valley Forge. The biggest problem that they had during that winter was the rapid spread of disease. Diseases like typhoid caused by dirty water, pneumonia caused by colds and bronchitis that never got better, and smallpox caused by people catching it from each other in those close quarters, those cabins that they had to stay in. So they really had a lot of people die that winter from disease. Here's a short video about the difficulties of living in Valley Forge. I highly recommend that you watch it because what you're going to do is you're going to write a letter pretending you are an American soldier at Valley Forge and you're writing a letter home to your family explaining how difficult it is to live there in the wintertime. There's 2 pages of text. Now you can read those if you want to help you get ideas for what to write in the letter. A lot of what's in the text is what I've talked about in this video. This is the only thing you have to do today, so I really want you to focus and put a lot of effort into this. As always, stay safe and keep learning.